Gender-based violence, or otherwise known as GBV, is a profound and widespread problem in South Africa, impacting almost every aspect of life. It's an issue that mainly affects women and girls. This video will be exploring what gender-based violence is, the effects, the public opinion, as well as an effective solution to solving this issue. This is a taboo topic, not meant to be shied away. So I do warn you, trigger warning of sexual violence.
Now to this disturbing and worrying story. Women in the south coast of KwaZulu-Natal have given up hope in the fight against gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence continuing to plague many women in South Africa, women facing quadruple challenges of inequality, unemployment, poverty, and gender-based violence and femicide. For many women and girls in the country, the war zone is not the battlefield, but their own homes.
In April 2018, South Africans were horrified by the news that a young woman was found murdered in Johannesburg, her body burnt. Karabo Mokoena had been discarded by her boyfriend in an open field like garbage. UCT student Uyinene Mkhwetyana was found raped and murdered, her body too disposed of like trash.
This is no longer just a problem in our country. It is indicative that we have a society of psychopaths.
I think the problem is bigger than just looking at legislation and policy. We need to change the way society thinks.
We always shall come here each and every time, rise and repeat the same thing, clap hands and go away. But there is no implementation.
When you compare conviction rates to the number of reported cases, it is shockingly low.
As someone who was sexually assaulted when I was younger, I wasn't even a woman. I wasn't even a woman yet. I was actually a girl. I was 5 years old. The decision was made for me to not report the person, and I still haven't received any sort of closure from that. So I think I form part of the statistic of people who haven't stepped forward, not because I don't want to, but because justice was not served for me.
But so when you're looking at the number of violations versus convictions, if it's that low, then there's something seriously wrong in the system.
My father is the one that made the decision to not actually report it properly. He was not angry enough. And now that I am older, I am angry because I never received what I wanted to receive, and it's affected me in multiple ways.
The United Nations, or otherwise known as the UN, Declaration on Elimination of Violence Against Women describes GBV as any act of violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm or suffering to women based on their sex. But what truly is the cause of gender-based violence?
Due to a lack of education. Okay. Honestly, I don't feel like there's enough education about the topic.
Men they don't listen. They can't take no for an answer, and they want their way most of the time.
It's not about the sexual act, it's about the thing of power. With African men, it's a thing of power. We want to dominate you. That's why they go after 9-month-old kids. That's why they go after 5-year-olds. That's why they go after 10-year-olds. That's why they go after kids who have pubescence, so...
I think maybe men see things online and it could...
At a young age too, like pornography and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then they think it's okay to do it.
Honestly, don't believe that they educate the men enough.
They think they're more powerful than us. They can get their way because they're better than us. Yeah.
It's something that has been happening for decades. It's a culture in our country, in our communities.
Gender-based violence is more common in societies where there is a culture of violence and where male superiority is treated as the norm. This normalcy can manifest in men feeling entitled to having sex with women. This entitlement can therefore reinforce gender roles and a hierarchy system where men are in control of women. Other factors include high levels of unemployment, lack of social support, and socio-economic inequality. In many cultures, men's violence against women is considered acceptable within certain situations. This acceptability makes it difficult to address GBV effectively. South Africa is no stranger to gruesome cases of gender-based violence. In 2019, 19-year-old university student Uyinene Mkhwetyana
was raped and murdered at a post office in Cape Town. In 2020, the body of 28-year-old Tshegofatso Pule, who was 8 months pregnant, was found stabbed and hanging from a tree outside Johannesburg. These crimes left the nation reeling, but they are just a few of many.
Refugee Mofokeng is a case that shocked South Africans and put the discussion of how young you can truly get away with gender-based violence to the forefront.
Refilwe was attending an alleged family party where she was lured away and gang raped by 2 teenage boys. Refilwe at the time was 15 years old and the boys were 17. 3 suspects believed to be the teenagers were arrested in Midrand. The 3rd suspect was later dropped with the charges.
I think it says a lot about the men in our country and how they raise their sons also and the influence they have on the kids.
I don't know why they're not arrested yet.
It's not like they're defending themselves saying they didn't do it or anything. They just like, I saw like they were being recorded. They didn't even say like, get out my face, I didn't do anything. They just like walk away. They just walk away.
Some people are outright making thirst traps to the sound, making content because it's a trending sound, and they will be like, listen, oh, me when I heard you feel and then what the Tweezies did, blah, 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 blah. So I do think that this situation is not taken seriously.
I'm not 100% sure like what's going on, but like it's wrong, and like I would love to hear more of what she has to say about it.
Crazy to me is that at 15 years old, we were protesting against the death of Unene. And there were many boys in my school who were protesting with us. And it's crazy that the 15-year-olds of like, it's not even that far long, but the 15-year-olds of today, this year, they are protesting for rapists. And I don't know, that is a lot.
But what truly makes this case special? Number 1, her alleged rapists are teenagers. Generation Z, or otherwise known as Gen Z, happens to be one of the most passionate generations out there when it comes to world problems. These world problems include issues such as BLM, LGBTQ, or in this case, GBV. So it was a shock for many South Africans, or for many others out there, to see that the very same generation that has been protesting for rapists to be put in jail is the same generation to allegedly raping others. And this point is to no other misander Generation Z, but to highlight the irony in this case. And number 2, her case is not being taken seriously. With a lot of people online going on social media to use specific sound bites in order to either support the alleged perpetrators or make fun of the alleged victim. How do we, as a society, solve gender-based violence? Or how do we take measures to prevent it more?
Like I said, education, to educate men more, and for the government to just care about the people of South Africa.
Putting it more out there, having a word and raising women's voices so that people can hear how we feel about this stuff.
I agree with that.
Obviously there are strict laws, but to enforce the strict laws, because it's unacceptable not to enforce them, and for the laws to be there. If there's laws there but no enforcement, what is the point of them? It's useless.
I do think like chemical castration.
What does that mean for like someone who doesn't know what that means?
So a chemical castration is basically prohibit your inability to have children and produce. You can't even get sexually aroused. You can urinate, but other than that, the function is rendered useless. And I think especially for child molesters, repeated offenders, that should be it should be a thing. The cases should be handled very delicately, I think, because it's a very serious thing to take away someone's ability to produce.
I'm gonna say what I learned in school. You can have that campaign in your community. You can do that little protest, like stop GBV.
He's right.
Governments should lead campaigns that will lead to reduction of gender-based violence. These campaigns should focus on fighting violence against women by getting messages out to schools and to the pupils' parents. There are 3 elements at the core of elimination of violence against women and girls. Number 1, prevention. Making sure gender-based violence does not occur in the first place by working with local grassroots organizations, civil society, and community leaders. Number 2, protection. Identifying and providing services to survivors once the violence occurs. Number 3, prosecution. Making sure perpetrators are persecuted by strengthening legal and judicial systems.
By observing the above-mentioned principles, government, media, and non-governmental organizations should be promoting an understanding of gender-based violence among the public. Engage men as allies. It helps both men and women by transforming their own attitudes and behaviors by questioning harmful gender roles. Understand how some traditional beliefs may not work in a contemporary society, and ultimately moving couples towards a more equal and positive relationships. This was a heavy topic to discuss, but for many others out there, it's a reality. And in order to further solve this problem, we need to have more discussions like this. Spreading awareness and having peaceful, open dialogues with both people you agree and disagree with will help to make a better society. So I encourage you all to do the same.
What's that what I learned in school?
Allegedly, thingy majiggy.
Have you heard of the case of Rafele? Okay,
Yeah.
It helps both men and women by questioning.
What's that what I learned in school?
The perpetrators, yeah.
What's that what I learned in school?
What is your name?
Eric, right? No, yeah, Eric.
The influence they have on the kids. So, yeah.
It helps both men and women by transforming their own what? Ugh!
What's that what I learned in school?